Football Fantasy.
Hello and welcome to Keepers. I'm Matt Ufford, and please join me in wishing Julio Jones a full and speedy recovery. Just devastating news for Atlanta fans and Julio owners. I'm very sorry for your loss. I'll try to find you some good waiver pickups at wideout. But first, starts and sits for Week 6. Start Pierre Garçon. He's among the NFL leaders with 11 targets per game, and fresh off a bye week, he gets a Dallas pass defense that's allowed the most completions and pass touchdowns in the NFL. You should have a great day. Sit Matt Stafford if you have a viable QB2. Cleveland has been lights out against the pass this year, especially at home. Without Calvin Johnson, Stafford posted pedestrian numbers against a mediocre Green Bay defense. But even if Megatron does play, he'll draw Joe Hayden, not an ideal rehab stint. Start Greg Olsen. In the Vikings' last 3 games, they've allowed their opponent's top tight end to average 71 yards per game with a total of 5 TDs. He's also leading the Panthers in receptions and yards, so there's a lot to like about his matchup this Sunday. Sit Nate Washington. He was huge in Jake Locker's last 2 starts, but quieted down with Ryan Fitzpatrick under center. A date at CenturyLink Field against the league's 3rd-ranked pass defense with your backup QB throwing to you warrants a sit. Start Justin Blackmon. He didn't start putting up numbers his rookie year until Chad Henne started throwing to him, and that's who'll be under center against a Broncos defense that gives up inflated passing numbers since teams are constantly in catch-up mode against them. Call it a hunch, but I think the Jaguars may fall behind in this one. Sit Marcus Colston if you have some depth at wideout. Aqib Talib is the NFL's 3rd best cornerback according to Pro Football Focus, and it's obvious that Drew Brees prefers throwing to Jimmy Graham and his running backs. Start Robert Griffin III. I've been low on RG3 all year, but I like him against a Dallas defense that has already given up 400-yard, 3-touchdown performances to 3 different quarterbacks. Coming off an extra week of rest for his rebuilt knee, I expect RG3 to shine. Sit Denarius Moore. He's emerged as a viable option with the growth of Terrell Pryor, but leave him on the bench against the Chiefs unit that leads the league in sacks and scoring defense and allows a league-low completion rate of 53%. Start Jay Cutler. Cutler only really struggles when he's under pressure, and the Giants have no pass rush to speak of. They've also given up 2 or more touchdowns to every opposing quarterback this year. Last week was more hit than miss, but my misses were not pretty. I said to start Cam Newton, and he was awful in Arizona. My call to sit Ray Rice looked bad with his 2 touchdowns, but his 2.7 yards per carry suggests that there was at least a glimmer of me knowing what I'm talking about. As for where I was right, how about hiring Keenan Allen even though he was only 5% owned? Starting Denarius Moore, sitting Stevie Johnson, hiring Justin Blackmon, still occasionally useful. Buy low on Russell Wilson. He's struggled at times this year against the toughest portion of the Seahawks' schedule. He's got more home games against easier opponents, and his numbers will improve with the return of injured offensive linemen and, eventually, Percy Harvin. Sell on Matt Ryan. The loss of Julio Jones hurts his value, but I think some owners will look to capitalize on that, given that Ryan is still an excellent quarterback who will still be throwing it a lot, given that the Falcons can't run. What concerns me is the Falcons' schedule. The next 6 games after the bye are all against very solid defenses. I'd shop them around. Buy low on Cam Newton. So his 3 interceptions last week stunk. That happens sometimes on the road versus good defenses. He's played well in the Panthers' other 3 games with 6 touchdowns and 2 picks, and he tends to play better as the season progresses. I can't really say sell high on this, so cut bait on Maurice Jones-Drew. He managed to crack 3 yards per carry in last week's game for the first time all season, but he won't get to play the Rams every week. And given the Eugene Monroe trade and Luke Jokel's broken ankle, there's no reason for optimism. Sell him for peanuts. 1 week after Tom Brady's 52-game touchdown streak ended in the rain at Cincinnati, he faces the possibility of another wet one in Foxborough. If the Saints and Patriots end up playing in the rain, expect a little less out of the Breeze, Brady, Graham, Gronk showdown. Hire Harry Douglas and fire Chris Givens. Douglas will step into a starting role, and Atlanta throws more than anyone in the league. Givens hasn't scored this year. His yardage has decreased every game since week 2, and his quarterback is Sam Bradford, who has consistently proven he's not a franchise quarterback. Maybe the Rams will pick up on that some year. Hire Garrett Graham and fire Brandon Myers. Graham has put up some solid numbers despite only getting snaps in 2 tight end formations. With Owen Daniels out for 4 to 6 weeks, I think he'll post top 10 numbers at his position. Myers, meanwhile, has disappeared since his strong start. 5 catches for 68 yards and no scores over the last 3 games. Have fun on the waiver wire, pal. Hire Terrence Williams and fire Kenny Britt. If Dallas is smart, Williams will be starting opposite Dez Bryant even once Miles Austin returns. He had a good game at San Diego in Week 4, but really exploded last week versus Denver, so pick him up while you can. Britt has been a train wreck this year, with a grand total of 52 yards and 0 trips to the end zone. He's unhappy in Tennessee and looks like he's mailing it in until he's traded or cut. So do him a favor and trade or cut him. That is all for this week's Keepers, your outdoor activity of the week.
Go outside and communicate with nature.
You mean commune with nature?
No, I mean literally. Talk to the flowers. They know everybody's business.
I hear everything.
Super weird. Set your lineups. See you next week.